All right, hello everybody to LSR Group 1, Round 8 here in Season number 11, joining you from Qatar, where we got a little bit of a lighter session to start, but looking to get underway here. But, of course, just getting underway here with qualifying. Of course, the Red Bull of Zorowski making his way out onto track first. And again, hopefully we should be seeing a couple of other people trickle in throughout the course of this session. But yeah, round 8 here in Qatar, into the back side of the season now. And of course, single qualifying here on, very much I would say a little bit untraditional F1 circuit. Of course, a circuit designed largely for MotoGP and has held multiple races there. Apologies, I'm just going to try to invite one of the names you may be missing in Mango. We'll see if he does get on, though I doubt it at this phase, as I still have not heard anything from him. But again, still looking to see what happens here. But we'll be on board with Zorowski in the Red Bull as he gets underway with a lap at very fast, very high speed. Wouldn't say as technical as some of the other circuits we'd see similar on the calendar. Of course, you've seen WEC come here now, the World Endurance Championship, and now LSR joins. But of course, turn 1 pretty fast, 4th gear, turn 2 as well. Not much of a problem for these cars. Probably can see a couple of battles through that as drivers try to finish off overtaking opportunities. Blast through turn 3 into the double 90-degree right-handers here of 4 and 5. Really important to get that dialed in, not get track limits anywhere. Into the hairpin here of 6. One of the few kind of real big traction zones on this circuit is turn 6. They got a bit of a 180-degree turn 7. Track starts to fall away here to try to get out towards that outside curve through that kink left of 8. Or kink left of 7, into that right-hander of 8, keep the speed flowing through turn 9, got another of the again, the very rare traction zones on this circuit. You're really going to see it be more left-hand side tire wear as opposed to rear tire wear, and then, of course, you're in this fast final sector, really going to be abusing those left-hand side tires into the penultimate corner here, that sweeping left-hander, and then, of course, sweeping right to finish it off. And back into the lone DRS zone on the circuit. So it'll be Zorowski coming to the line first to set the first lap time here. And it's going to be a 21.8 for Z as we look to get underway here. McLaren coming to the line next. I think there's Aston Martin on a bit of a push lap. That is B-Tom on an out lap. He's got a Ferrari behind him. That's Mac T making his way through the final couple of corners. Of course, going to get that power down to the line, really utilizing all the track on exit. And that's 20.9 from Mac as he looks to put Ferrari towards the front of the pack. We, of course, have Van Centino with a nice early lap. Stratton coming through the final corner. Potentially a little bit of a mistake early in that lap. We'll see if the Haas is planning to kind of double outlap, get those tires into the window that he wants them. See a whole bunch of sparks flying off the back of the red, white, and black machine. And so we'll see how that continues. Up into Van Zentino then in the Racing Bulls. Through, again, that sweeping right-handed final corner. Going to be given a little bit of a tow to, I believe that's going to be Lurka behind. And Zentino, 21.8. So, again, solid first go with things. I'm going to give a nice tow, but still a pretty good ways off of Mac T. MK7 Hitch making his way through that final sector. He seemed to have abandoned that lap. Kaname showing purple in that first sector. B-Tom pushing towards the end of his lap now. Though, is he still pushing at full speed? It sounds like he's not going full out necessarily. Still has a good bit of battery left in the tank, so we'll see if he's just kind of setting up to going to give another push here. Jordan going to invalidate there just as we switch to him through that turn 6 hairpin. Again, very important to try and get that turn right Asian Persuasion, meanwhile, in fourth for Williams, as I was looking at other drivers there. Here comes Stratting. Mango is able to join us as well, and Stratting jumps all the way up into second place. 21.6 is a very solid lap. Kaname behind him, 21.0. So Kaname not taking that lead position as of right now, a little bit surprisingly. So we'll see if we can get an improvement there. But it's the early stages, and Lurka actually going to go faster than his teammate here, as Alpine looks to continue to have some dominant showings. B-Tom still 8th right now. You can see making his way through Sector 2, of course. Again, throwing it through, again, I don't know if it's a sweeping left-hander or sweeping hairpin. I don't know if that even makes sense, but B-Tom up 1.6 seconds. So B-Tom flying very comfortably here. So set up for at least a 21.6. So certainly ahead of Stratting if he can keep it going. Hog Rider, meanwhile, goes third quickest with a 120.998. So that's now a fourth driver into the pole position conversation. Here comes B-Tom now out of the final corner into the line, and that's a fifth. That's going to be a 9.73 from B-Tom. So that'll put him right in the middle of that top pack, who all now looking to be fighting for that provisional pole. Spinala King now, again, a couple of drivers trying to make their way out. Bit of a lockup there for Spinala. You could see that slide. You could see that puff of smoke as that Mercedes got into the braking zone. And I don't think too many necessarily tricky braking or traction zones around the circuit, at least on these fresh tires at quality pace. Though, again, if you're really trying to get the most out of that car, you can, again, see another lockup there through turn 6. And then, again, once you get to turn 10, you can see some of those lockups start to creep in. And it'll cost you a lot of lap time, especially there through turn 10. And that's going to really affect your pace for even through the next couple of corners, since it's flat out most of the rest of the way around the circuit. Here comes Spinala King, though, for Mercedes out of the final corner. This lap will be valid, but I imagine not quite what he's going to want. 21.7 is still very respectable, though, and of course with a lot of time to gain after we saw a couple of those lockups. Jordan 2 Wavy getting underway with a push. I believe B-Tom as well, still working his way back around. So we'll jump to the second half of Fight Me Now Bot, as he's looking to now make his way around the circuit. As I believe there is, I can hopefully get an extra invite out. Again, I'll send another one to Mango, who I haven't seen yet. Lofty Pickle as well, in just a moment. Who, again, should hopefully be joining us, so we should have a couple of extra drivers for this one. We'll have to wait and see. It's Fight Me Now Bot actually invalidated, but 21.248. So now he's starting to join the picture up at the front. So yeah, despite definitely a bit of a lighter session this week, again, sadly we did have 3 drivers, or at least as of right now, 3 drivers who have all been out without so much as a word. The battle at the front should still be rather interesting in this one. Luckily, as you can see, number of drivers all looking to go get their next laps in. Kaname leading the way there. I believe that's Van Centino behind him. And of course, Van's teammate MK7 Hitch, really the only one on a bit of a push lap right now. Zrosky is as well. I did not see that first sector time, but it does seem that the Red Bull, I don't know if he's on a push lap or not. There is Mango rejoining, so there at least is a 16th driver that we'd be expecting in this one. So should be able to keep an eye on that. As Zrosky, not on a big push lap here. But still going to have to find some time to improve. Stratting, though, looking to get underway for Haas. Going to be given potentially a little bit of a tow to, I believe that maybe EXT Barnett behind him is. So we'll see if either that straight line speed or the dirty air is an impact to either of those cars. as they'll make their way through the first bit of the racetrack. Stratton coming to that first sector timing line in just 2 corners now. And that, of course, that marker isn't down to the run here into turn number 6. He's actually up a tenth and a half, so Stratton showing fairly comfortable lap early. Got 8. So we'll stay on board with him as he makes his way through sector 2. We'll keep, definitely be sure to keep an eye on the distance BXT behind him has, as the Ferrari is certainly keeping rather close. So certainly looking to be competitive in this one. Of course, you got a Ferrari stopped off to the side of the track there. That is Mac T, of course, your provisional pole sitter. Did miss, sadly, what that time was through Sector 2. I believe Mac T as well, maybe out of fuel potentially. But trying to do a nice job keeping it within track limits there. Going to come through the final corner now. And what does the Haas have as he powers his way to the line? And Stratton going to put down a 21.269. So going to join his teammate of Fight Me Now bot with a very comfortable lap. BXT actually going to abort that lap. So potentially a bit of a mistake in that one. Of course, that botch right there is indication that Mango has joined the lobby. So Mango will be racing with us today. Jumping on goal as Dan with an incredible lap there. Driver that I really wasn't paying attention to, but throws down a 20.494 and goes comfortably clear up at the top. With a very low fuel run. But that is a massive lap here in qualifying. Lurka only up 2/10 through 2 sectors. Did he have anything to pull out in Sector 3? It's not going to be. It's going to be closer to that 20.494, but not quite going to be close enough. But he'll again extend that advantage in P2 for the moment. B-Tom currently remains 5th. Hog Rider up almost 3/10 through 2 sectors. So could both McLarens be on for a very nice qualifying, and could they be the ones to start to take the fight to Alpine a little bit? Certainly, at least in this race, Hog Rider the line, and he'll split the Alpines for now. 20.807, a very handy lap, and that'll put Hog Rider at the lead of that second row. So, apologies here, just trying to get. I know we are expecting at least one other driver that I'm trying to consistently send invites to be in before the end of qualifying. Go ahead and shoot him one more invite. Again, hopefully he does get in. But again, very nice lap there from Hog Rider. B-Tom making his way through the final sector now. We'll stay with the Aston Martin, apologies, and see if he can make anything work on the back end of this lap. Of course, got a number of drivers up ahead of him, but they're all diving in the pits. Will B-Tom follow? Yes, he will. As, of course, the pit lane in this year's game definitely going to be different as well. Spinal King also jumping up into P7 with a nice improvement of over 0.6 of a second. Fight Me Now bot, meanwhile, up 0.3. So Fight Me Now bot looking to move up the board. Can, again, I think with all these drivers, that 20.494 is going to be, from Dan, going to be incredibly imposing. But here comes Bot to the line, 20.751. So fast enough to go fast enough to go ahead of Hog Rider. But pushing himself up a little bit closer to the front of the field. Zroski was down about a second there, did invalidate that lap when he was up about, I think, 1/10 through 2 sectors. So still an improvement on the board potentially for Zroski. Still improvement on the board for a lot of these drivers. So we'll have to see how some of this continues to start to pan out. Yeah, of course, just under 3 minutes left to go in qualifying. Not sure how good your audio is, but I think we are going to see our first couple of drivers potentially start to come out of the pits. No, I believe those cars being put back in. No, there is our first couple of drivers out. I believe it is the Williams of Asian Persuasion who's going to be coming out of the pits rather early. Got BXT out with a bit of an early lap. Again, I think really just trying to make sure, everybody kind of going out at this point, wanting to make sure that they get some clear air, that they have the time to maybe back off, and take one last go of things. If that first lap doesn't work if that first lap does not exactly go to plan. So I'll have to see what all happens. It's going to be very interesting. And of course, a very busy pit lane here. And actually, one of those V-carbs may have just been held up by his teammate getting out of the pits. And both this V-carb and Haas that are just getting pulled back into their pit slots now. Fight Me Now Bot, and I believe that's Hitch, may not be getting lap times in. They're going to really struggle. Yeah, they're not going to get out. So Hitch and Fight Me Now Bot are both going to be out of this qualifying session. Stratton as well going to have his work cut out for him now that his teammate was trying to come into the pits. So Stratton could be out as they could be both Haas and one of the V-carbs unable to get a lap in. Mango similarly will not be getting a lap. BXT has also made a bit of a mistake here. And BXT going to retire from the session. We saw him just kind of go off into the wall there. Ultimately, not sure what happened. But very, very odd situations here at the end of qualifying for what is definitely a bit of an abnormal race. Asian Persuasion, though, getting underway. Again, going to be looking to jump up the board from where he currently sits. He's going to be working through Sector 1. Hitch, of course, going to retire from the session as he is out, and he's been jumped, as I believe that's Zroski jumping up into the top 10 with a 21.3. Asian as well, up through Sector 1, 29.905 for him. Mac T coming up to that sector marker as well, and we'll see where the Ferrari is in comparison, 29.806, and also an improvement from Mac T, so some good laps there early. The Williams, though, making his way through turn number 10. Of course, got the kick again of 11. They'll have the Haas out in front, which I thought for a second may have given him a little bit of a tow. But Asian running comfortably up 3/10 through two sectors. So Asian now on a bit of a flyer as well. That's qualifying over as well. And both Haases unable to get a lap in. So that'll be it for them. But Asian through the final corner now. And he'll power towards the line. Again, keeping to that outside line. And that'll jump him up into 11th for the time being. Solid lap for him. What about the man who was on provisional pole for a large part of this early part of qualifying? Mac T to the line. He'll only go second quickest. Does find a quarter of a second, though. Is that enough to hold off the rest of the charging field? I believe Hog Rider going to be the first of the drivers fighting towards the front to come to the line. He's down 2/10 through two sectors, so I wouldn't expect him to improve. We'll jump to Spinala King then. Dan behind him on his final lap. Also pushing, may pick up a little bit of a tow. Spinala King and Dan both to the line. Spinala not going to improve. Will Dan improve? He will improve ever so slightly. Will that be a difference here? B-Tom to the line. 2/10 through two sectors. He'll jump up into P6 just behind Fight Me Now Bot. Lurka, really the last driver with any sort of a shot. He'll come to the line. Only fourth quickest. Jordan to Wavy then. Final going to come to the line. He is only 14th quickest. And of course, Zroski making his way back around will be in the top 10, but it is going to be Dan 16 on pole here in Qatar. So we'll move into the race here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So again, I feel like, again, definitely, not going to be necessarily as crazy as some of our other races that you've seen, considering just, again, an unfortunate lack of available drivers. But of course, congratulations to Dan on his provisional pole. For that very fancy helmet, and it's going to be McLaren leading the way, much as they did earlier today, except for 1 and 2, it's 1 and 7. 10th and a half then to Kaname, Mac T only 2/10 back. Lurka, Fight Me Now Bot, B-Tom, and Hog Rider all really kind of waiting in the wings there. And they got a decent jump back to the rest of the field. But then from there, from 8th down to 10th, also very close to only about 3/10 in it. So it should be some pretty tight pack racing. We'll see exactly what happens over the course of this one. But again, hoping for an interesting one. And of course, going to have a slight break here before we move into the full-on race. Of course, have a little bit of time before we do get underway. But strategy here, I think, is definitely going to be very important. A one-stop is certainly possible in this one. You can definitely get a medium hard. You can even get soft to hard, potentially, though with that soft tire, it's going to fall off rather quickly, and of course, extending that hard tire stint. Going to be a little bit more difficult because of that. You might get that better start. You might get a sizable undercut as well, but it's going to be a matter of will those tires hold onto grip throughout the rest of the stint, because you really have to manage your left-hand side tires if you do want to go for either of the one-stops, because they will wear out very quickly just with how much curb you have to take at this highest kind of pace of racing in order to try and get the car absolutely dialed in. I think as well, two-stop definitely is a way to look at it. I think soft, hard, soft maybe a way a couple of drivers to go. I think if drivers do want to opt for a default two-stop, I think mediums just don't quite have enough life to move to double softs. Is the kind of only issue with going for that one. Again, and that's just due to how high the tire wear is on the circuit because of how many corners. Because you're taking only 2 of these corners in any lower than 4th gear. So there's a lot to think about. And it does seem like we are getting underway here. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of this race pace gets dialed in. We look to get rolling here in Qatar. It should be just a couple seconds now. And there we are on the grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lights. And we're underway here in Qatar. Seems to be good getaways. Good getaway from the Williams behind. Very wiggly from Fight Me Now Bot's Haas. That's going to hold up Stratting as well. He's going to get boxed in. Kaname going to go to the inside here at turn 1 as the front 2 drivers both using mediums. Bit of a wiggle from Dan. Can he hold that inside line here through turn 2? Of course, we'll have that outside through 3, but he's going to come across and hold on and take that lead back here. Van Zentino, meanwhile, had a bit of an incident there in the run down to turn 2, but it's going to be single file here as everybody fans out, tries to make their way through these first couple of corners, get those tires into the right window. You got the Red Bull of Mango trying to make moves early, trying to go around the outside of Stratting's Haas here. Stratting with a load of struggle here early, potentially damage on that Haas in the opening stages. Drusky trying to make a move on Fight Me Now Bot, and just as we switch to that wide angle, you can see the Red Bull, I think, just lose some grip there, just trying to get the power down a little bit too much, and that's going to drop the Red Bull well off the pack here. So a mistake there early from Zroski means he's going to have it all to do now. Again, those slides picking up that little bit of tire temperature, going to be a big factor. Take a look at tire choices. It's a surprising split between the medium and the hard compound of tire. Most drivers, I think, going for that medium compound, but a surprising amount going for the hards. So, again, very split strategies here. Of course, both Alpines on that medium strategy going to be now charging after Dan. So we'll see how that pans out. Already a little bit of a gap starting to form. But the entirety of the field still in a pretty good train. Hannum that, of course, there in the background, the only one at major risk of falling out of DRS range. But otherwise, everybody continuing to push. Vincentino, meanwhile, did pick up wing damage there at that instant in the run down into turn 2. So a bit of a mistake there. Dan as well, you can see, I think we're pushing very hard early, trying to open up that gap, really trying to utilize some of this clear air here in Qatar. Of course, dirty air gonna be an even more important factor there. And of course, there is your predicted race strategies. Hard to medium, so expect that pit stop phase around lap 16, 18 for the hard compound tires, which I would imagine that we're looking at around lap 11 to 13 for our medium tire runners to all start diving into the pits. But we'll come through the final corner and open DRS for the first time, and the gap up at the front, 7/10, and of course will close all the way down here into turn 1. Dan trying to break the toe a little bit, but Kaname going to continue to close up to him. Not going to have the opportunity, though, into turn number 1. And this as well is going to allow that front pack to start to break away. BXT Bernat able to get that moved on Asian Persuasion. Move not done yet, though, is Mango trying to find his way around the outside as well, as Mango doing a nice job getting that done, as Asian drops out of the top 10. But now again, BXT, especially after having to fight Asian through that first kind of braking zone, will again have that clear air, but it's going to have his work to do. Jordan as well, able to get that move done, so Asian potentially starting to struggle with getting those hards lit up, or potentially having some sort of balance concerns in this one. But we'll see how that continues, and if you can continue to try and hold on to that car. Back up at the front, though, 6/10 is that gap here on lap number 3. Of course, again, working through this second sector for the third time in this race, and they got much closer this time around. Kaname's done a much better job here of staying close. Yellow flag in sector 3. Not sure what that yellow flag was for. Potentially for Hanum not running a little bit wide. But Kaname, of course, going to have DRS here. Again, going to be closing. But again, I think, Kaname here, content to not expend too much energy in the early stages of this race. Having to kind of find a rhythm here with Dan and try to get moves done. Stratting as well, going to drop down to 14th now. Is in the race, starting to struggle a little bit, is the Haas. Again, hopefully he can manage to start to pull some of that back. Potentially join his teammate, who is also now falling out of the top 10. So again, I think, is there damage on that front wing of the Haas? Started up fairly far. No, it doesn't seem to be. So again, maybe as well, trying to take some tire management into account. But the front 6 starting to make a little bit of a breakaway there. You can see from that camera shot as BXT makes his way through. Spinala King as well starting to fall off the back. Actually, apologies, I think that was McT making his way through those couple of corners. But lap number 4 here, and again, that gap continues to get tighter between Dan and Kaname. As we come into the final corner once again, this closest Kaname's been over these first 4 laps. But Dan with a nice run there out of that final corner. But here comes Kaname, going to be tucked up under the rear wing of that Chrome McLaren. Going to go to the outside here into turn 1 and will slide up in front of the McLaren. So Kaname takes the lead here at the start of lap number 5. Does a nice job of completing that move. And as well, I think, Dan kind of reading that situation there, not wanting to lose too much time, not wanting to get potentially overtaken by Lurka behind. Doing a nice job at sticking with him. Will make their way into sector 2 here. Bit ambitious. I think Dan want to carry a little bit more speed. Almost into the back of Kaname there, doing a nice job to hold on to it. And unfortunately, BXT just not having